Today I'm going to show you how to actually compile or build your plugins created using the JUCE framework. This is also going to work for applications or whatever you're doing with the JUCE framework, but plugins are just what I make using it, so I'm going to be compiling a plugin, but it doesn't really matter that much. So in the last video I actually showed you how to do that, but it was really short and I would like to kind of go a bit deeper with it. So let's open our terminal and let's open our Projucer. Here is the actual project file for this plugin, but what we want to do is open the Projucer. So I'm just going to go here to my folder with all of the plugins and JUCE, and we're going to just open JUCE, and here is the Projucer. So open it up, and now we are inside of the Projucer. And as you can see here, I already have a Linux Makefile exporter. If you don't have the Linux Makefile configuration here, just click on this plus icon here. And what is important is that you don't select one of these options here, because if you select one, the only option is going to be to add a new configuration. But you don't want that, you actually want to add here the Linux Makefile exporter. So when you have that, you can click on it and then just simply press the super key, which is usually also the control key, and then save it. So just super S. You can actually go and look what the save has done. So let's actually go to our plugin, builds Linux Makefile, and here you can see the Makefile. So usually you will probably don't have this folder, and maybe you will also not have this folder here, because you haven't actually built or compiled your plugin yet, or whatever project you have. You will only have this Makefile here, which is generated by the Projucer when we save it. So if you actually change something in the Projucer, you need to click on your exporter, in this case Linux Makefile, and save it. And then this Makefile is just going to be overwritten, and you're going to get all of your changed settings and whatever you did in here. So we can actually look into the Makefile. So you don't need to actually read this file, but I just wanted to show you that it just compiles all of these files here and just does all of this here and just writes like compiling this file and stuff. So it just compiles your project, and it's just like an instruction for your actual compiler. So I assume that you already have your compiler installed and you already have Makefile installed. If you don't, you're just going to need to just install them. And I think on the JUCE GitHub you can find all of the packages you need to have to actually use JUCE. And there is probably one which is a compiler like clang or something like that, or like GCC, I don't know. And then you can also install Makefile if it's not on that list, and then you're going to get this Makefile generated for you. But it probably is already installed if you actually installed all of the dependencies you need. So right now what we can do is go to the terminal and go into this folder. So just cd into this Linux Makefile folder here. So it's in your plugin folder, builds Linux Makefile. So just copy the location, paste it in. And if you have any spaces, you're going to need to enter this symbol here before it. But if you don't, like here, you can just press enter. You need to do that with some other symbols as well. If you have other symbols that also require it, you're also going to need to just put that reverse slash before them. Right now we're in this folder, and here is our Makefile. So to actually compile your plugin or your project, you're going to need to actually use the make command, which basically just runs the Makefile. So what you're going to do is actually run it with sudo to give it extra permissions. So sudo make, and after this you can actually also write config is equal to debug or config is equal to release. So by default, if you don't use that, I think it uses the debug configuration. So for this one, I want to actually use the release. So I'm going to just write config is equal to release. And now let's just press enter and type in our password. And what the difference between a debug configuration and a release configuration is that you will usually use debug configurations for just compiling your plugins or projects to debug them or test them. So you will not need as much time for compiling them, and it's going to be easier to connect a debugger to it and things like that. And the release configuration is for your actual releases. So when you want to share your plugin, it's just going to be a bit faster and a bit more reliable for the end user. So as you can see here, it just compiled all of the files that weren't compiled. For you, it's going to be a long list of different files if you haven't compiled it yet. And then it actually links all of the different plugin formats and the standalone version. So you can actually use those, and you can find them in build. And here, plugin template is the standalone version of it. And then here you can see the VST3, and you would see your other formats here as well. So now let's actually look at how to test this plugin. So we will go into Ardour, and we're going to just open this session. And Ardour is a really amazing open source DAW that I use to test my plugins and stuff on Linux, so definitely check it out if you want a simple DAW that is not too CPU intensive to just test your plugins. It's just amazing for that. So let's just delete the instrument I had here, which is one of my plugins. Let's just right click. Here you can see new plugin, and then you can go to the plugin selector and actually select the plugin. But if we actually search for a plugin, it's not going to be there because we need to first scan for it. So to scan, you go to Edit, Preferences, Plugins, and you can just scan here. But I can already tell you that it's not going to be there because it's not actually saved to the main VST directory. So you will need to go to VST, here additional VST3 path, and you're going to need to add another path for it. And then you're going to go to Documents. Then here I actually have all of my JUCE stuff, including my plugins. And we're just going to find that one. Go to Builds, Linux Makefile, Build. Here we have the VST3. So we're just going to select the build folder. Click OK, OK, yes, and now it should be somewhere on this rescaling list. So we can just keep an eye on it. Yeah, it was there. So it got scanned. And now you can just simply look if it is here. In the errored ones, it's not. So we can actually use it right now. Okay, and it is here. So let's just add it and insert it. Now we have our plugin. And this one is actually just a simple template plugin I am developing for you guys, so you can simply just clone the repo or just copy all of the code and actually be able to create your plugin without setting up the audio processor value tree state and the look and feel to actually load your graphics and the preset manager and stuff like that. That's all going to be included in the template. So as you can see here, this is our plugin. It got compiled and we can actually use everything here and it works. So there are other ways to do it using CMake or just compiling it yourself. But we're not going to talk about that today because this one is actually really simple. You won't have to install much things for it, and It's really quick and easy for everybody. So you just need to go into the folder and just compile it using Makefile, and you have your plugin. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel.